Holy is the ultimate gamer. He's earned that name.
Holyone.
A great guy, and his videos are fantastic.
What's to you, YouTube? It's Holyone, and these are going to be my top 10 worst games of 2020. And to start this list off at number 10, we have Battletoads for the Xbox One and PC. Now, this was supposed to be a new Battletoads game. However, the art direction, the battle style, and all these other things in the game just make it not great whatsoever. Not only is there a weird story to it that just doesn't make sense to the overall cast of the Battletoads, but the combat itself is not as good or as difficult as the originals that I had to play the game on hard, and I still didn't find it to be as difficult to me as it should have been. And when it comes to the art style of the game, I think the art style is absolutely not that great either. So, but overall, what makes this game really bad is these weird mini puzzles where you're on screen trying to type things into the right point that it requires more than one person just to make it easier to get through. So, starting this list off at number 10, we have Battletoads. Number 9, we have Pokemon Armor of Isle expansion, which adds the first expansion this year to the Pokemon Sword and Shield games. Now, this game is a straight cash grab and poor implementation of Pokemon able to follow you around the game. Pokemon are not sized correctly still. The game's graphics are still the same or subpar again. The story can be beaten within an hour and a half to 2 hours if you just breeze through it and fight to the main Armor Dojo. The legendary Pokemon selection they've added is still very minimal compared to the second expansion. And overall, this expansion you could probably beat 100% in less than 3 hours. So, for a total of $15, this is probably one of the worst expansions I've ever played in the Pokemon series in a whole. And the whole concept of you having to buy this game to get extra Pokemon to catch, and the lazy and poor implementation of Game Freak still continues. So, this game is number 9 on my list, and you should totally not buy it. It is not worth the expansion price at all. Number 8 is West of Dead, a stick-based cover shooter where you're taking place as a undead guy looking for his past, and he's basically lost his memories, and he's fighting these preachers and bosses. Now, what got me interested in this game is its graphical design and interesting-looking combat. However, the controls for this game are absolutely horrendous, where your character might be sliding off a wall and then getting shot dead. And what makes this game even more difficult is if you die, you have to restart the entire game to redo the run. And the option for upgradability and weapon selection is decent. However, the bad controls for this game just make it completely unplayable for me. And I cannot recommend playing this game. That's $20. If you have Game Pass, you can play it that way. But I got to Chapter 3 and just had to drop the game with how bad it was. So that's number 8 on my list, West for Dead. At number 7, we have Crucible, the game published and produced by the company Amazon. It's supposed to be a third-person, harvesting game, which you can go around and collect things. This game came out so broken that Amazon had to, delay it and repair the game, that it was so buggy and broken, it kind of makes Cyberpunk look playable to that point. That this game is really bad. Not only are there tons of glitches, bugs, server connection issues, that the point that they were trying to charge for this game makes it ridiculous. So, this game is a straight cash grab. It is not worth playing as a multiplayer game. Avoid Crucible if you can. It is a very bad game and a total misrepresentation of what games Amazon should be putting out. So, that's number 7 on my list. At number 6, we have Disaster Report 4 Summer Memories, which is a natural disaster simulator-like game where you play as a man who's basically trying to figure out why is the world collapsing all around him. The first thing I'll say about this game is its visuals are not good at all, and they were charging a full $60 for this title. The game is very bland, boring, not much action is happening. There are tons of bugs and glitches to the point where I had to just shut the game off. So I would not recommend playing this game on either consoles or PC. It is not worth playing as a sequel to the other disaster games. It is not good at all. You guys can look up some reviews for this game. It is just overall a garbage game. So that's number 6 on my list. At number 5, we have Pokemon Mystery Dungeon DX. And the reason this game is so high up on my list is I am a huge fan of the Mystery Dungeons. And Nintendo yet again releases another lazy so-called remake to the system. The game has horrible visual upgrades. It looks like they just put a wash of paint over the game and said, oh yeah, it's a remake. The game still has bad frame pacing issues, which means the game runs at 30 frames with some issues when you're traveling between dungeons. Nintendo decided to charge a full $60 for this trash remake, and it still hasn't resolved any of the issues the original game had. This is another quick cash grab by Nintendo and another company just to play off of people's nostalgias. This game I had to put down because of how bad it was. So that's number 5 on my list. Hopefully Nintendo will learn from this and not make another poorly made so-called remake of a game. At number 4, we have Bleeding Edge. It can't be a worst games of the year list without some trash Microsoft exclusive games. No offense to Microsoft, but Bleeding Ass, as I call it, is just a bad game. The game is dead. Nobody was playing it since it released. You can't get into a match. Overall, the game's aesthetics look okay, but the game is not fun to play whatsoever, and it's just what makes the game so bad is it's a dead community. When a multiplayer game has no community, and they're charging you $30 for this trash, which it should have been a free-to-play, that way people might have actually got into playing it, and don't say, oh, but Holyone, it's on Game Pass, you can play it that way. Wrong, you still have to pay for Game Pass. So, Bleeding Ass is number 4 on my list. It is not worth buying for $30. And if you're lucky to even find a match to play with, the game gets extremely frustrating. At number 3, we have another Microsoft-published game from Obsidian, which is Grounded. Now, Grounded is technically in early access, so I have encountered extreme bugs, no pun intended, in the game. But overall, this game is extremely boring. Graphically, it looks okay in certain areas, but the rest of it just doesn't look that great. And I loved the movie Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, so I was interested in playing this game in early access for their demo. But overall, the game it's not great at all. I would say they need to fix this game ASAP for full release, and that's why it's on my worst games of this year. So maybe they could fix all those issues next year, and the game could be taken off this list. But as the state of it's in right now, it is a very bad game. And at number 2, we have One Punch Man, a hero nobody knows. And my god, this game is really bad for a fighting game. The controls are atrocious. There's bad input lag for a fighting game. The overall art style isn't terrible, but it does not look amazing graphically, especially for a cel-shaded game. And they were charging $60 for this title. And how it made it on the Game of the Awards list, I have no idea. This game is a very bad fighting game. There are much better ones you guys could play out there. I would even recommend J-Stars over this trash. And if you go on Metacritic, the game's sitting at like a 50 or something. It is a very bad fighting game. Avoid this game. Even if you love One Punch Man, I would highly recommend playing something other than this. It is not worth it. It is a quick cash grab of a fighting game. So, that's my number 2. And for number 1, worst game of 2020 is Predator Hunting Grounds. An extremely big crash grab by the company that published it. The game overall visually looks okay, but the game is just a straight lazy multiplayer game using the Predator IP. The AIs in the game are extremely dumb and confusing. The map selection is extremely limited. The game's player base has completely fallen off. And overall, it is one of the worst multiplayer games I've ever played in my life. And that makes it the worst game, in my opinion, in 2020. And the fact that they charged full price for this is absolutely unforgivable. So, these are my top 10 worst games of 2020, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. This is your boy, Holyone, out.
God, it burns! How's it taste, motherfucker?